Hello and welcome to the third rail. If you follow the channel, you might have seen a couple of videos about a temporary Märklin layout I am currently working on. If you haven't, I strongly recommend you watch the other videos in the series accessible via the little card at the top of the screen now. In the last episode, I set up the signals needed on the main lines. I then deployed wireless control to operate the signals manually and tested everything was working properly with a few locomotives. The layout is now divided into blocks and I am ready to start work on automation. Unfortunately, this means more wires, but we'll also get to play with a few party tricks the Märklin system has in store. Earlier in the series, I mentioned that common ground is available via the track and roadbed throughout the layout. I could use it, for example, to quickly test the functionality of my accessories. This principle is used by the Märklin system to allow trains to control accessories and forms the basis for automation. This is done using special tracks called contact tracks or switching tracks. So we have a few samples of those on screen now. On the left hand side we've got contact tracks and on the right hand side switching tracks. On contact tracks, one of the rails is isolated from the roadbed and connected to two ports on the side. You can see that there's a little cut on each side of the isolated rail section, one here and another one on the other side. In this state, the isolated rail is not connected to anything. When a wheelset enters the contact track, it will establish a circuit between the two outer rails, thereby establishing a ground connection to the ports on the side. The connection will remain live as long as the wheelset is present on the isolated section. And let's see it in action. I've set up a little demo here with one of those straight contact tracks. The contact track is connected to a light bulb. The light bulb is connected to the lighting circuit. I have a wagon on the track which I am going to push across this section, and if everything goes well the light bulb should light up. And it lights up, and as the wagon exits the track the light bulb goes off. Let's push it the other side and it works again and again and again. Now if I leave the wagon on that piece of track, the contact will then be permanent. Now let's have a look at switching tracks. These come in different flavors. We've got a short straight section and two curved sections for each of the radii available in the M-Track system. They work on a different principle from the contact track. There is a little lever located at the center of the roadbed. This lever is sprung on two contact springs which are connected to a different port on the side of the track section. The purpose of those contact springs is twofold. One, they push the lever back to its central position after the lever has been triggered, and secondly, they establish a connection to between the roadbed and the port on the side of the contact track. The lever will activate a different port depending on the direction of travel of any train going over the track. As the lever is placed in the center of the roadbed, it is not activated by the wheels but by the pickup shoe present on all Märklin locomotives and wagons with interior lighting or tail lighting. The wagon and its pickup shoe simply slides over the lever and pushes it right or left depending on the direction of travel. We'll see this better on the demo track. I've set up the contact track with 2 light bulbs connected to each port. We're just going to push a carriage with interior lighting over the track, and you will see that the left light bulb gets activated. Now we're going to the right, and the right light bulb gets activated. The pulse generated is more or less always the same time. It all depends on the length of the pickup shoe. Now if we take a carriage with no pickup shoe, then nothing will happen. If I manage to get the carriage on the track, there we go, we'll just push it across the track, nothing in one direction. And if we re-rail it and push it the other way, gosh, I'm so bad at railing, nothing happens. Pretty simple. But back to the layout. Since the last episode, I've laid the section marked in red on the plan, which is a bypass where the locomotive is driving now, which allows train travel at ground level, bypassing the bridge section and the inner station. I'm going to start by looking at automating the outer station where the red locomotive has stopped now. This is a complex area full of little knickknacks that will need connecting. I'll also need another locomotive to assist in my testing. I'm first going to take care of setting up the mechanics that allow trains to travel from block to block and release other trains in the process. The way this will work is that any signal that is passed by a train will automatically be set back to red, and that a train leaving a block will release the train in the preceding block. There is a video on the channel about the basics of the block system, which is available on a little card at the top of the screen now. So now it's time to have fun. I'm going to concentrate on the inner line of the station as well as the rest of the red loop on the plan. The first task will consist in connecting all the red wires of the signals to contact or switching tracks already laid on the layout. So I'll start at the station taking a wire, connecting it to the contact track. There we go, and I'm going to plug that into the red plug for the signal where the red locomotive is currently located. We are then going to test that it works. Let's give the locomotive a green signal. There we go, and going over the contact track, the signal reverts to red. Great! We can now repeat the same exercise for the other signals around the red loop. And there we go. All our locomotives should now be able to stop. So I can now look into the departure aspect. So I need to connect green wires to different contact tracks. So in this case, we're in the top right hand corner of the layout at signal 15. That signal will be triggered to green by a piece of track located at the other end of the layout after the exit of the station. So I need to pull my long wire and plug it into a piece of switching track which I'd allocated for this purpose on the plan. So I need to connect it to the port the furthest away from the station. There we go. And now any locomotive going over that lever will trigger the signal to green. I now need to do the same for the other two signals whose green wires need to be connected to allocated contact track already laid on the layout. And having completed this, I'm now ready for a first test with two locomotives. So I'm going to send the green loco to its position at the end of the bypass. So we'll give the green locomotive a green signal. It should close the block when it goes over the contact track, that's it, and open the preceding block. Yes, that's working. That block will be shut by the red locomotive, yes, and the preceding block opened. Great. Shut again. The locomotive would carry on to the station, exit the station, and free the block again. Great, that's working. If we look at the larger view, we can see that the locomotives are happily going from block to block and are set in motion in the desired order. Let's try that with wagons now and coaches. So the first consist goes, frees the following consist, that's fine. The train stops and it's freed when the following consist is going over a switching track, that's great. Yeah, that seems to be working. The consists have different lengths, so that's usually a bit tricky. Right, everything looks in order. At that stage, it would be easy to think that the job's done, but unfortunately not quite yet. You see the signal we have on screen now behaves somewhat differently from the others. When a train leaves the block, it automatically sets the signal back to red, but you see the signal jumps back to green, and that is due to the preceding train, which is longer and has more pickup shoes than the one that just left the block. This is not the expected behavior and it's a safety risk, so we need to fix this before doing anything else on the layout. This type of issue is actually quite typical when using contact tracks or switching tracks for automation. Some even call it a feature. With contact tracks, issues will occur using consists of different lengths, whilst with switching tracks the issue has to do with the amount of pickup shoes installed in the consists in use. So, an easy way to solve the problem could be to standardize on a certain consist length and standardize the placement of pickup shoes. But I'd like to run a variety of different configurations, so this will not be possible in this case. Another option could be to try and shift tracks on the plan here and there, but in my experience that only shifts the issue and uses valuable space. A better option could be to disable a contact or switching track momentarily. Fortunately, Märklin has another party trick in store for us, and it is called the Universal Remote Switch. And I happen to have a few of those in the collection. So here we have an example, it's a 7045. The Universal Remote Switch is a solenoid-driven relay. It's got two ports on the side which share a common input via the red wire. The other cables are there to activate and control the solenoid. So we have the usual lighting circuit in yellow, and we have two control cables, a red and a green, which will switch the common circuit from one port to the other. This can be used for any type of model railway circuit. But we'll do a quick demo with a few light bulbs again. So we're going to connect a light bulb to each port on the side of the remote switch. So the first one in the first port, and the other one, if I find the plug, there we go, to the other port. We are then going to connect the common input or the shared input to the lighting circuit. The other side of the light bulbs, the brown cable is connected directly to the brown circuit on the transformer. And as you can see, the one of the light bulbs already lights up as soon as I plug in the common input cable. And I can toggle things manually already. So we're going to move the light bulbs towards the field of view. There we go. I'm just going to quickly screw this bulb back in its base. So, as you can see, I can toggle the lights with the switch. So that's the basic functionality. Now this toggling can also be achieved electromechanically with the solenoid. So I'm going to connect the switch itself to the lighting circuit. And now with my control cable, either the green or red one, I will simply quickly test them against the common ground on the track. And as you can see, it will change over from one light bulb to another based on the control cable used. So it works like signal. Now we're going to plug these control cables into a switching track, and we're going to let the wagon do its magic again. So if I push the wagon to the left light bulb lights up, and if I push it to the right light bulb lights up. I think I'll be able to use the functionality to solve our little signaling problem. Let's have a look at it. So what I'm trying to achieve is to disable the signal coming through this very long green cable I laid at the beginning of the video. So I will divert the circuit so that it goes through the relay. To activate or deactivate the circuit, I'll connect the control cables of the relay to switching tracks on the main line. The expected result is that a train passing the signal would trigger a first switching track. This switching track will trigger the relay and disable the circuit. The train will then travel along the line until it triggers a second switching track, which will trigger the relay and re-enable the circuit. Let's see if this works in practice. So we are sending the long train towards the station. The block shuts behind that train. This is fine, expected behavior, and as it behaved before. The short train is now waiting at the signal, shuts the block behind it. That's good, and the block remains shut. I think we've achieved what we set out to do. So now that we've made this area of the layout safer, we can look at automating the rest of the accessories dotted all around the place in the station area. But that will be the topic for another video. For now, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. That's very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank all the new subscribers who recently joined the channel. It's nice to see that people are interested in what I produced, and so much so that they subscribe to be notified of any new content on the channel. It's very rewarding. But for now, bye and see you next time.